Once you are finished pinning the inside seam, you're going to be ready to sew it. Now, even though we started pinning in the middle of this seam, we are going to start all the way on one end, and we're going to sew one straight line all the way down to the other end. So we're starting from the bottom on the inside of one of the legs, and we're going to finish on the bottom on the inside of the other leg. Okay, when I put this into my sewing machine, I want to make sure that I'm set up right, because the last stitch I did was a zigzag. So I'm going to make this go back to number 1 because I need a straight stitch. And then I'm going to change my stitch length, so it says 3.0. So I push this button, it says 2.2, I make it say 3.0, and I'll be ready for my straight stitch. You sew this seam the same as you did the first ones you've done, where you line up at the 5/8 of an inch seam allowance, put your presser foot down, back stitch, and take the pins out as you go. When you get to the middle where we first pinned it, where you have the extra fabric from your first seam that you sewed, you are going to sew right on top of that seam. Okay, so I'm going to sew right on top of it. It goes right up and over, and I just keep sewing just like normal. So I treat it just like a straight line. So I'm going to keep sewing, and it sews all the way on top of those seams. I'm still sewing. Notice I didn't stop. I didn't have to backstitch. I just sewed right over that stuff. I'm sewing all the way down to the bottom, and I backstitch. I'm cutting off my thread tails, and make sure when you sew over this middle part, make sure that you don't stop, or else you'll end up with a hole in your shorts. It needs to go from one end all the way down to the other.